Welcome back to the Becoming Her podcast. You guys, we're all back together. It's been a hot minute. We are going to be chatting all things chaos during holidays. And speaking of chaos, what have you ladies been up to? Like I said, it's been a few minutes since we've all been together.
Oh, what have I been up to? Just working at the office and putting all my efforts there at the office with my patients, just growing the practice.
I feel that. I feel that. And you just got back from vacation, little mini vacay.
Did girls trip, annual girls trip. We go to Brown County, Indiana. We do a lot of hiking and drink too much wine and hang
Mhm.
out and talk until really late, which at this point in my life is 9 or 10 p.m.
I feel that in my soul. I know when people are really late, I'm like, it's 8:30. I'm ready for bed. And most people are like, really late, like 1 a.m. I'm like, what? What? That's not a thing for me. I would never
As
make
pushing it, as pushing it.
it. Girl trips are the best though. They freaking my favorite thing ever. But with the chaoticness of holidays and whatnot, I thought now would be a really great time to get us together. And we're titling this the Unfiltered Holidays. No more walking around, like no more walking on eggshells during this Christmas season. Say that 5 times fast. That was a word mouth. Anne had some really great points. So I'm going to let you kick this off because we were chatting before we started recording. And I think that you had some really solid just kind of feedback here and things that we can dive into because I know that this is something that I personally feel myself, and I know it's going to be something a lot of our listeners feeling. So I'd love for you to kind of dive in and take it away.
Yeah, what I tend to see a lot in my office, especially around the holidays, of course, we see the traditional, the things that we're here for. Everybody's eating too much, all the goodies are here. How do I manage all the food? But what I see that is actually a bigger part of the problem is the family dynamics at the holidays. If family comes to town, or I go back to family, and suddenly, instantly, I don't know about you guys, but I am round and a half a century. And sometimes when I'm around my own family, I turn into that little girl that I grew up as, right? And I just instantly suck into the family dynamics. And I fulfill my part of not speaking up, of not setting boundaries, of trying to make everybody happy, of playing the therapist in my own family. And I see a lot of people do the exact same thing where we lose our voice. We wind up feeling really small. We wind up not being able to talk about the things that we have historically not been able to address with our parents. And then, well, lo and behold, all this wonderful food's here and it's the holidays anyways. Might as well just go ahead and eat my feelings. And so we go back to the number one coping skill that we enjoy the most, which is food to bring comfort to us. And so it winds up being this vicious cycle. And I see a lot of people that will say, well, it doesn't matter anyway, because it doesn't matter what I say to mom, or it doesn't matter what I say to dad, or my siblings, or my uncle, or whatever. They're just going to do what they do. And I've tried to say things before and nothing's changed. And so what's the point of me actually talking about what's happening? I'm curious for both of you how family dynamics kind of plays into your own holidays.
Absolutely. I felt that when you were talking about that off camera. And I think for me, it's not even just family dynamics. Yes, they play a role, but I have this like pressure to keep up with the Joneses during the holidays, like the
Uh,
Instagram pictures worthy Christmas trees and all of these things. And I'm lucky to like put some makeup on for the day with all the like the things that I need to get done and all the tasks that are, at play. And so I just get this overwhelm of, it's like this adrenaline of just trying to check off every single box and make sure that, everybody else's needs are being met. And like you said, the pressure of family coming into town and making sure they're being taken care of. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot.
So, I I don't feel it that anymore, but I did years ago when I was the one hosting at the house. I don't feel it anymore now. I guess because I don't know. I guess because I've worked through a lot of that. I don't like give a shit anymore what anybody thinks, even my family. I'm like, fuck y'all. Like, this is me. This is what I'm gonna do. Love me or don't love me. I don't care. And my whole family knows that. And it's nice that my siblings are accepting of it and everybody just they're themselves and we just accept everybody, and just we've all learned, I think, to just not take anything personal. Um, so it's really nice. it's really nice. Like if someone's like, oh, that didn't taste that good. Who cares? Okay, well, you didn't like it. I liked it. Who cares? But it wasn't always that way. I used to host Thanksgiving at my house. And for me, it wasn't more so how everybody was going to react. It was more so me having the pressure of making sure I make all the sides, all the food, everybody's happy, everybody's served, everybody's enjoying. I was definitely that not the caretaker, but the what's it called? You're the host. Like I liked
Mhm.
hosting. And I don't like hosting anymore. I hate it actually. It takes too much time. It's too much effort. I'd rather be invited. And so this year we're invited to my brother's house. But I do remember when it was stressful, being the host and taking care of everybody, and then, walking on eggshells because so and so doesn't eat this or doesn't like that, or so and so just came into the family and we don't want to hurt their feelings. But when I learned that it doesn't matter and everybody's more so worried about themselves anyways, it I threw it out the door, just like I don't care. I don't care. But that not anymore. Like I can't say anything recent. Like there's nothing I feel like genuinely I don't have any pressure this holiday about anything whatsoever. So
Mhm.
So
that's
Bucket, what shifted for you?
um
What was kind of the critical moment?
I think it was probably okay. So certain family members, I've had to just be straight up front and say, if I say something or do something that offends you, I will not be held accountable of how you feel about that. And if it triggered something that's really unrelated to me, but it's a past trauma of yours or something, you have to understand that it's not that I don't care, but I'm not going to change who I am to comfort that inner child that hasn't been healed. And I'm okay with that. I
Mm-hmm.
know it sounds selfish, but it truly is that. Like, if there's something I do during the holidays that offends someone, it's like, dude, what's in you that's triggering you to be affected by what I did? Because when you look at it objectively, there's really nothing that I really did to you directly. It might have just triggered something your mama did to you when you were younger. So I've stopped reacting to those reactions from people and taking it personally, right? So I'm not offended easily and I don't try to offend. And if someone's offended because I said something, well, I'm sorry that you're not healed enough at this point of evolution in your life that it affected you. Period.
That's powerful because my people pleaser is on steroids during the holidays. I don't know what it is. Like, I feel like we all
Wow.
have natural people pleasing tendencies at times, but mine like just
Oh,
get
yeah.
exasperated during the holidays. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's like this need to feel like I need to keep up with the Joneses or what it is, but it's like it's heightened.
Yeah, no, I think that's common. I don't know. I just think I'm just in my I don't give a fuck episode or era right now.
Send that
And
energy my way.
And I don't mean to be critical at all, but I'm very empathetic. I understand like when patients talk about their traumas and stuff. I get it, been there, done that. But personally, for me, I've decided that I am not going to be affected by how someone reacts to something if I directly was not intentionally doing something to affect them, because I'm not in their brain. Right, Dr. Ann? I mean, I know I sound kind of like mean probably when I say that, but it's true, right? Am I
I'd love
wrong?
to hear her thoughts here.
No, so what I actually walk people through, and Nicole, I actually want to put a pin in this and come back to it because people pleasing is about shame, and I want to talk more about that. But like, Bucket, I want to talk about what it is that you identified, and I walk people through this in my office. In
Huh.
one of the things that's really important for us is our own ability to reflect back. So in growth mindset, right, what happens is I actually welcome critical feedback that my pumpkin pie tasted awful, that somebody didn't like the gifts. Like I literally will give gifts to my teenage sons, and we're still learning how to say that they don't like something. Where I'll hand them something and I'll say, "Do you like it?" And they won't respond, and they won't respond. And okay, I don't think that you like it. That is okay. I will not be offended by that. And then finally, one of them just did this. Mom, I hate this. I don't understand. I like this design, but I hate the orange. Oh, okay, I didn't know. That's really great information.
Mhm.
But our ability to actually tolerate that actually comes from our ability to know where our heart is and be able to internally reflect where I was going, how I felt about my actions. Like I was trying really hard to I like agonized at the store that what color, what design, this is going to be the wrong, this is black with orange, and that seems like it's going to work. And the other one was, tan with black. He didn't like any of them. I picked 3. Okay. So maybe his style has changed, right? But our ability to know ourselves and where our heart was and where our heart is actually is where self-confidence and self-esteem comes from. And that's actually what leads us to a place of feeling unoffendable, right? And if I go back and I say, so we have to be able to accept both the good and the bad. So the ability for you to be able to retrospectively say, how do I feel about how I engaged? Did I do anything on purpose to be mean or cruel? Did I walk people through this? Were you cussing at them? Did you name call them? Do you belittle them? Were you trying to make them feel small? Like if you can say yes to any of those, you are being cruel and you need to apologize for that.
Right. Absolutely.
But if you weren't, the other person's having a feeling. And if you can actually reflect and go, is there anything that I would have changed about what I did? I'm going to give the example of my son picking out sweatshirts. I was being super thoughtful. I'm sure my friends were really annoyed with me because I was spending so much time to be thoughtful because he wouldn't pick up the phone. So I could show him, right? But that actually leads us then to be able to receive critical feedback and not take offense to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be able to check my heart on that, So if I get offended because someone doesn't like a gift that I gave them, that's really about me and not about the other person.
That's right.
Because other people cannot like things that we give them, just like we sometimes, let's be honest, guys. Have you ever gone to an outing and tried some food item that you absolutely hated, or been given a gift that you were literally, the video clip that I have in my mind is that kid who gets the avocado and he's like, thanks, an avocado. And you've been so
I saw that one.
I've gotten a few Christmas gifts where it was like, thanks, an avocado. That's lovely. Right. But like, we don't like stuff, right? We have preferences, and it's not because the person wasn't in a great place or they weren't trying to be thoughtful, but they just missed us and they didn't know what we liked. And that may not have been anybody's fault.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
And our ability to be honest with other people is actually keeps us in a place of authenticity. Our ability to say, I don't like this. I don't prefer this. I love your thought and your heart in this, but this wasn't for me. That actually frees us up and frees up the other person. Because when we're not doing that, what we're constantly trying to do, and I'm sorry, I'm going to lay this word down and some people are probably not going to like it. You're trying to manipulate other people. You're not actually being kind. You're just manipulating everyone around you to try to control their reactions to your dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Dr. Ann, there's a really, it's very interesting because everybody, like I always say, everybody's at a different evolutionary point in their life, right? So just like the planets are, it's the same for humans, I think. And some of us grow and evolve and some don't, right? Some get stuck for years and grow maybe later on. But I'm getting to a point, and the point is I was at last Christmas, we were at, my in-laws' house, and there's a lot of pleasing that happened early on when I met my husband, because I really wanted to fit in with the family, and I would bend over backwards, and then I would be hurt because like I didn't get praised about it. And obviously looking back now, I did more harm to myself than good. It was all about me, actually. But anyways, long story short, last Christmas we went there, and I was eating her, my mother-in-law's food, and it was delicious. Gosh, she makes the best chiles rellenos. We don't agree on a lot of stuff, but that woman can cook really good. And I was eating her food, and like she was like, "You don't want any more? You don't want any more?" And I'm like, "No, I'm full. Thank you so much. It's the best ever. You make the best." And she's like, and it's a smirky comment in Spanish, though, almost like, I'm offended that you're not eating more and you're not finishing it. And I stopped for a minute and I called her by her first name cordially. And I said, listen, now, I absolutely enjoyed your food, but I am completely full. I have no space in my stomach right now. And if I was to just eat this, I would be doing it to make you happy. And I can't do that to myself. And she just looked at me and she was like, I was like, like, and then I felt empowered because I said, because I told the truth.
You set a boundary.
your food is amazing. It's the best. Nobody can make chile lasagne. And I was like, you can, hands down. But I could only fit one in my belly and I'm full. Thank you very much.
And Bucket, what I love that you did, so a lot of times when I'm working people through the process, this, how to work on stuff, identifying how I feel about something and whether or not there's any resistance, right? So noticing I don't really want to accept this gift. I don't want to eat more. I just don't want to do this. But then you went one step further and you talked about the elephant in the room, which is are essentially, and you didn't say it quite like this, are you trying to get me to eat more just to make you happy?
Mhm.
And you didn't quite say it like that, but you said, if I do this, it's literally only to make you happy and not because I'm needing it right now. And the power of actually doing that, and I, the phrase that I always use is calling out the elephant in the room, is that when we do that, that technique itself loses its sting because we're actually drawing it out into the open. We're kind of saying, I get a sense that you're trying to make me do this, and I really don't want to do this. And I hope that's okay with you, but it's going to be okay with me.
Mhm.
And why that's so powerful is that if we struggle to do that with our family members, what happens instead is that even if we don't respond, even if we don't keep eating more, we internalize it
Mhm.
because it's the absence of not being able to say that really wasn't okay with me, that you just did this,
Mhm.
and talk about that as being an ineffective thing, right? We have to be able to have hard conversations with people.
Mhm.
And because of that, we have to be okay with other people having feelings.
Mhm.
We want people to feel guilt. We really do. And we don't want them to feel ashamed of themselves, but we do want to kind of point out something that they've done that isn't healthy and something that we don't like that they're doing.
Mm.
The example I gave, and I know this aired on a podcast a long time ago, but the example that I gave where just like I had this moment of, I don't know, hailing my ancestors or something. I've never said this before. I've got a granddaughter and she's like not warming up to me. We don't spend a lot of time together because she lives in another state. She's darling. I love her to pieces. But she had just walked in the door and she wanted something and she like dropped something and I picked it up and she simply asked if she could have it. She's 2 and she's like broken English. And I said, I'll give it to you as long as you give me a hug. And my daughter, without skipping a beat, looks at me and she goes, Mom, that sounds so manipulative. And I was like, it did. I that isn't, I don't even do that. Like, I don't know what that was about.
Mhm.
But it just kind of came out. And what's really cool about this, and of course my daughter and I have worked on this, my oldest daughter, and this is now her daughter. What was really cool about that is that she wasn't quiet about it. And I could receive it without going into shame. I didn't feel like I was a bad grandma. I didn't feel like a bad mom. I realized for what it was, and I was like, yeah, I'm a cool person. What the hell was that?
I mean, you're human. You're
Yeah.
human and you wanted a connection with her and it came out. I mean, I get it. It's so funny you say that because I have a lot of patients that have little ones that they bring to the office and they're so cute and I get so excited because like I have like baby fever, but my tubes are tied and I'm 38 and I have a business and I'm not going backwards, but I love babies. And so I have patients that will bring like babies with them and little kids and I just want to like squeeze their cheeks and it's not okay like they're not my family members, but like I want to like squeeze their cheeks and like hold them. But I first like see the situation and then I can see if like the kid's kind of engaging with me. I look at mom, can I give her a hug if she says okay? And then I look at the kid and I'm like, can I give you a hug? And they're like, yeah. So I grab them. But I make sure to ask because that's another thing that happens in holidays is boundaries of like touching goes out of
Mhm.
control, I think. Some people don't want to be hugged. Some people don't want, a kiss on the cheek.
Mm.
So we
Yeah.
always raised my daughter too, and it was something we had to teach my in-laws too. Look, if she doesn't want to give you a hug, respect that. We're not going to tell her, hey, your grandparents just walked in the room, go give them a hug. We're not doing that. And so if she doesn't want to give you a hug, she doesn't want to give you a hug. If she gives you a hug, it has to come, from her. If she thinks you're like some weird ass uncle, that she's not going to hug you or she's not going to hang out with you, and that's okay. So I always ask the kids, I'm like, can I give you a hug? They always say yes, and parents are always okay with it. But I always make sure to ask. I would want someone to ask if I had a little one right now because I know how people are in this world. So, but But yeah, that made me think of that when you said that, Dr. Ann.
Mm.
Well, and I want to talk about the danger of not being able to do some of this stuff is if we remain silent, then what happens is we are stockpiling our feelings. We have all of these moments when we're experiencing something, we're feeling either shame or we're feeling hurt by something, or like let's say for example you just let the situation with mother-in-law go and you just ignored it, right? Like, I'm not going to say anything because I just don't want to eat, and how dare she like try to coerce me into eating. Now I've got unresolved conflict with my mother-in-law, and this seems like, okay, all right, so I don't see her that often, right? Is it really going to be that big of a deal? But the problem is that I want you to think of emotions. They're kind of like death by 1,000 tiny paper cuts. So it's not just the one thing that happens, it's the fact that I'm stockpiling it that makes us want to then go and cope the way that we know, right? I'm going to eat all the food. I'm going to get home and I'm going to drink extra. I'm going to eat extra. I'm going to lose control of myself, because what's happening is that, if we look at it from a more nervous system state, is that paper cut is cortisol, and then another paper cut, another more cortisol, right? And then I'm ruminating on it, which keeps me in that stress state. And my nervous system needs to slow down. It needs to actually be comforted. And so then I go and reach for that dopamine instead of oxytocin. And oxytocin is my connection to other people. And my connection to other people relies on my ability to share my experience with other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And have it received. Right.
Yeah.
So what I want you to think about is that food winds up being that dopamine, that ever so slight dopamine surge that we get from food winds up being a really cheap substitute for the real deal, which is oxytocin, which is what gets released when we have good, solid connection with other people.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if anybody that's listening is thinking, well, that's lovely for people that can actually have families that respect them, but my family's just going to get mad at me. You're
Yeah.
right. That is the problem. But the issue is still you're speaking up because you don't have to hang on to those feelings, not to make someone change. Because again, that's manipulation. And there's something really, really cool that happens in the brain when we say something out loud. So it's a learning and cognition phenomenon. I wish I remembered the exact phenomenon. But for those of us that had to do a lot of memorization in school, one of the recommendations for memorization is that you say things out loud as you're trying to memorize. Because we hear it, we're speaking it, and we're reading it all the same time. So it's three separate cues that my brain is actually taking in. And so when we're actually talking about what we feel or what's happening, what you did with your mother-in-law is a really great example of this. What my daughter did with me, the power of that is that anchors into my brain, and that becomes more verification that this isn't about me. I don't have to absorb this. I said you did this thing. You didn't respond really well to it, but like I talked about it. And that's really freeing for us to be able to talk about, man, you like that wasn't okay that you did that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, I mean, I take it like even bringing it back to me in that situation, it was super spicy and I love super spicy food, but I can only take it in small amounts because I'll have diarrhea the next day. I'm going to feel horrible. So I'm like, I can't handle it. So it's do I eat more and totally disregard my boundaries and my feelings and be miserable the next day and have heartburn, stay up all night with reflux? And then obviously my stomach was already kind of like, we're done. Not even respect my stomach, right? Not even respect my hunger cues that I'm full, I don't want anymore. All these negative things come out of pleasing someone. It's not worth it. Not anymore. Not anymore. So that's what I mean. I would have been miserable. Like another situation happened too, where I got sick, really sick on the trip, and we were in Mexico, and I was like, I'm gonna lay in bed all day and just let my body heal. And so I opted out of going to the events and things with them, which years ago I would have like just toughed it out and coughing the whole way and just toughed it out, because that culture sees many times, the Mexican culture sees a woman as, you get up and you still cook and you still clean and you still do the things because, and I guess it's in the American culture too, but in respect to just that one culture. And I said, no, I'm not going to. And I don't care if they view me as lazy. I don't care if they view me as non-productive. I value myself. I know I'm an accomplished person. I've done things in my life that I'm proud of, and I don't need acceptance from anybody. I'm going to listen to my body and rest. And I opted out and I stayed home and drank tea and took care of myself. And I mean, I did not feel one bit guilty about that. And I would have years ago. I would have been like, oh, I have to put a mask on and make sure that I take care of everyone, even though I'm sick, and go out with them and show them a good time, even though I'm there at their house, kind of thing. Nope, not one bit.
Mm, damn, I need to send some of that energy my way because I love that.
Well, and Nicole, I wanted to, I mentioned to put a pin in the people pleasing. Becca, you just mentioned this, but people pleasing, ironically, is always about shame. It's one of the ways that we shield ourselves, and one of the most highly adaptive ways, because virtually no one in the world is going to argue with you trying to make them happy.
Mhm.
Right? Like, the problem is that we wind up sacrificing ourselves. What
Mhm.
you're saying, Bucket, right? Um, and weirdly, when we're trying to make other people happy, that is inherently the foundation of codependency. I can't be okay unless you're okay, right?
Yeah.
And it happens like instant. I'm not saying like,
No more
you know,
codependency.
I don't envision that that most people are not in a place of actually on purpose trying to make people happy all the time. We wind up just simply feeling the stress of realizing that people around us aren't happy.
Yeah, no, when you said that, I was like, oh, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm over here as I was listening to you guys talk and just like, where is this coming from for me? And when you said that, it clicked. I didn't grow up with the best childhood. I just didn't. I don't talk a lot about it just because I don't want anybody to I'm never looking for, I guess, sympathy by any means. So I don't talk a lot about my childhood, but it was pretty awful, if I'm being honest with you. And I didn't have parents that were present. And Christmas, particularly, was really hard for me as a kid because I would go back to school and all these kids, would talk about their holiday traditions and all of these things and the gifts and all of that. And I didn't have any of that. And so I just remember longing for it so much as a child. And so now that I have my own child, like it just is so very important to me that he has above and beyond everything that I didn't have. And so that's exactly where it's stemming from. So it's like it really does it's on steroids for me during the holidays, and it is exactly that. It's me wanting to go above and beyond to ensure that he never had to feel anything that I felt as a child. And then I way overcompensate. And so that was just like an aha moment for me when you said that. I was like, holy shit, that's exactly where that's stemming from.
Because what did you feel when you showed back up at school and everybody else was talking about their Christmas and you couldn't really talk about yours?
Embarrassed. Like I was so embarrassed as a child and just shameful. Like I didn't
Yeah.
understand, like as a child, like I didn't connect why like I couldn't have the same things. And it wasn't even necessarily the gifts. It was these traditions. I just remember thinking like, what would it be like to be able to wake up and have French toast casserole? I still remember the French toast casserole that my friend used to talk about. Like, and we were like in fifth grade, right? And I was just like, what would it be like to have that? And just like these traditions. And we didn't have any of that. Like I was lucky if my mom was even around, to be honest with you, let alone, you know what I mean? Like, being able to gloat about gifts and Santa coming and all of these things. And so it's definitely an overcompensation thing for me, for sure. That it totally clicked.
And I wonder if the message that you got from mom not being around was that you weren't worthy of it.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, and I just want to notice then how that kind of translates, just like you were talking about anytime that shame is in the driver's seat, fear rides shotgun, right? So that's a Brene Brown quote, but I want to notice that your fear is that your son would ever even remotely experience that. And so then you go overboard to make him happy to ensure that he doesn't essentially have negative feelings.
Yep.
And the problem with that is that when we as parents show up like that, and I've been in this camp too, when we're showing up like that, we wind up accidentally putting a lot of pressure on our kids to always be happy. And we perpetuate this horrible cycle in our family where now we're all kind of like, this is where the walking on eggshells come from, right? Like, I'm so tense that I got the sweatshirt wrong, or so tense that I got the wrong gift, or that you don't like it, instead of like, oh, tell me if you don't like it. I want to know. And if they're disappointed, you're like, man, I hear you. I wonder if we could do this better. Like one of the things that I don't know if you've seen this, but with my kids, I got a lot of kids. I did really well with predicting what they would like when they were children, when virtually anything was fabulous, right? Like,
Yeah. Right.
I got you $5 tree things in your stocking, and you just like think I'm the best person on the planet. Now, as a teenager, if I bought you that, you'd be like, great, mom, thanks. Right. And so as they grow and as they mature, they no longer are just happy with anything. They have a lot stronger personalities and preferences and wishes and things. And sometimes we massively miss the boat, right? Because we don't realize that last year, that thing that they really love, they hate this year because
Mhm.
they didn't tell us,
And I felt the
right?
pressure to like almost outdo myself every year. It was like last year was this, and then this extreme pressure to like go above and beyond last year and beat last year. And this year has to be the best year ever. And we've eliminated that pressure. We don't do gifts anymore. We do trips and experiences just because it means a lot more. And it just
Quality
has,
time together. It's time
yeah,
together. I think that's what
exactly.
kids want ultimately anyways, is time
Yep.
together.
Yep. And so we've kind of just eliminated the whole, what do you want for Christmas this year? It's just not even a question. We plan some sort of experience that we do. And it's something to look forward to after the Christmas, because God only knows I'm not traveling during the holiday season. That's just chaotic mess. But it just gives us something to look forward to. And that's like kind of the new thing now. And it's not even an expectation anymore as much as it's just, I thoroughly enjoy it. You know what I mean? It took the pressure from me, and the pressure of like, I think even like Jay's, you're right. He would feel the pressure because I'm like, well, what do you want for Christmas this year? And you get so many things throughout the year, and it's just like trying to come up with these like things that you don't even know you want, but you're just trying to come up with something. And it just took all of that out of the equation with the trips and the experiences. And it's something that we all just enjoy a lot more. But I mean, like I said, Anne, some of these podcasts are therapy sessions. So that was enlightening for me, because I'm like, where is this coming from? But that's absolutely it. That's absolutely it.
Well, and I want you to think about just the experience, what it was that you craved as a child, that fifth grader, right? Who
Mhm.
woke up to French toast casserole. You craved the experience of waking up to this kind of magical, memorable,
Yep.
smell good moment.
Yep.
And I want to notice that where your heart went as a mom, and what you did is you set a boundary. And ironically, very few of us ever remember the gifts that we were ever given on any single holiday, but we remember how someone made us feel.
Yep.
You should relive. You should go find a recipe for a French toast, whatever casserole or whatever, and you need to do that on Christmas morning with you and the family. You should totally do that.
We do cinnamon rolls. That's our thing. So it's
Oh,
similar
okay.
too, but
And I could
yeah, we
say
definitely
could be
have that. But
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah, we definitely have that. And it's just something that we look forward to. And we talk about like different ways that we can make different types of cinnamon rolls. And so
Uh-huh.
like, that's our thing. It's not the French
Good.
toast casserole, but I
Uh,
wanted something like that, right? Like I know like there is just this foundation, this acre every Christmas morning we have, and it's not the cinnamon rolls, but it's the tradition of what that is. And
yeah.
making them and coming up with the flavors and getting excited about it. And, all of that's the piece of it that we love.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a process involved. So
I read this book. It's called it's called Pussy, a Reclamation. And it's a really good
The
book.
cat's on
Um,
fire today.
but anyways, the book talks about self-love and like loving yourself as
we
a
should
woman.
have taped you.
And it talks it's out there kind of book, but I didn't take all the things from it, but I took a lot of things from it, and it taught me to like date myself and love myself even though I'm married. And I went one day to the store and I bought myself flowers, and I wore a dress, like a super feminine dress, and I like bought myself flowers, and I gave myself a rose petal bath, and I just was smitten with myself. It was like great. But yeah, I don't know why the toast thing made me think of like I had never bought myself flowers before. So I did it that day and it just felt amazing. I felt super feminine. But anyways, yeah, I think I'm just in this, I don't know, it's in this era. I don't know what it is, but it feels good. I have to say it feels good to not take things personally. It just does.
No, I love that. And I think you brought up a good point too, because and what you said and kind of what Ann and I were talking about before you hopped on and we started recording was the need to be able to, and I think this is probably something a lot of people struggle with. I struggle with in the holidays when I am the most extroverted introvert you will ever meet. And the need for me to be able to recharge, I just have to have it. And so when you said, I took myself out on a date and I bought myself flowers, I don't think enough people give themselves that time. And I was even telling Anne before we recorded that I used to carry so much guilt for not being as extroverted as a lot of my friends were. And I took that as like just a sign of weakness on my end. And I couldn't figure out why I was constantly drained, but it was because I wasn't giving myself enough time to recharge. And I was trying to keep up with somebody that I just ultimately I'm not. And I know that I show up the best and I can give 100% when I have those recharge moments. So I think a lot of people, whether it be they turn to food to as coping mechanisms because they're not being able to get, or they're not giving themselves chances to recharge. But I think talking about this and normalizing the need to recharge is something that I don't think a lot of people bring to surface. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Anne.
Well, yeah, it's setting those boundaries. Ironically, I think, and we can all struggle with this. I struggled with this weekend, just setting my limits, or even realizing that my limits were getting violated. Just I needed more downtime, and one of the important things for us to realize, one of the phrases that I talk about often in therapy, is leaning into resistance. So when you are not wanting to do something, and this could be interacting, it could be eating something, it could be going somewhere with an in-law, it could be like it literally whatever it is. Instead of judging it, just get super curious about it and see if you can figure out literally why, not the judgmental why, but the honest, like what's going on that I don't want to do this? What's going on that I am resisting this? Um, and part of that is our ability to actually attune to what our body is communicating to us. And a lot of us have forgotten how to do that, which is why we wind up eating our feelings, right? Like if our body's screaming at us, I'm full, don't eat more, or I just like sometimes like my tell for me when I'm overstimulated is in my head, I'm thinking, shut up. And it's so interesting because I talk to people for listening for a living. I listen to them, right? And I love hearing people's, I literally love my job. I love hearing people's stories. And so when I hear that in my head, I'm like, girl, you have not done what you need to do because you're being really not nice in your head. But it's just a tell for me. It's like it's not something that I feel badly about. It's just like, okay, I gotta take a moment or I'm not gonna be worth anything to anybody. Um, and setting that limit is really healthy for us, and often goes out the window when families in town. I hear lots of people are like, well, I got to wake up because mom wakes up early and I got to make sure they got coffee and I got to do this thing and I got to go here after that. Like, no, they're grownups. Let them take care of themselves. They'll be okay. We're like, but they don't know and they don't have this and they, okay, but they're grownups. They'll figure it out or they're going to go to Starbucks. They'll live.
Dr. Ann, I think also you probably hear this a lot on your couch, your patients on your couch. Um, the wounds from childhood, that adult uh, child now still trying to please the mom and dad. So when they go visit them, they feel like a child again and that they have to help dad do this and help mom do that and do this and that and just still try to gain that acceptance from their parent. Like I've seen it in adult children a lot. And now that I can kind of step back and look at things objectively, look, I still have a lot of healing to do myself, but I'm not perfect by all means. But I've evolved to a certain point where I can like look and be mindful and see what's going on. And can you talk to that a little bit? I mean, I guess it's the same thing. It's that pressure during holidays, but to kind of show up and be there, especially for those surrogate husbands, those boys that were like surrogate husbands to their moms. Ooh, that's tough because their moms had in their head that they're the husband, they need to take care of them, especially if they didn't have a relationship with their own husband. I've seen that in my family, and I'm like, it's almost disgusting, but it's sad. It's so
Yeah.
sad.
And that specific instance, I believe what you're referencing is that parentified child, and that can
Huh?
happen for men or women, right?
Uh-huh.
And where they are actually promoted into the role of sometimes the hero in the family unit, where I get to be kind of above reproach and I'm the confidant of the parents. And it feels really good when you're a kid, but
Mhm.
it's super toxic and it winds up being really problematic when we're adults
Mhm.
because really our focus has to be on our partner for us to be healthy. Like we're actually supposed to leave our family unit and
Yep.
let them. And I'm not saying that you can't care for your mom and you can't love her and you can't be kind to her. That's not what I'm saying. But your primary focus really has to now shift to your own family unit.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I love doing in terms of some of the work that I do is a lot of that trauma, those trauma pieces.
Mhm.
We have to go back and essentially constantly reparent that little kid that just simply wants love. And that's the way that you got love,
Mhm.
right? So, and we've got to be really mindful about how that shows up, because the core of that is wanting connection.
Mhm.
Connection is not bad. I just want to say that. I cannot emphasize this. That is a healthy thing for us to desire. The method that we learned how to get it winds up being really problematic.
Bingo.
Yep.
That, because now I can be in my family setting and like my dad can say something like, I want some of that too. And I'd be like, well, go get it. Like it's not, oh, let me figure out how to get it from my dad. Let me give you this. Or my mom, oh, my head hurts and I'm just feeling so sick. Well, go to the doctor, mom. Okay, I'm gonna talk to you next week. All right. Have a good day. Bye. Hang up. I'm no longer responsible to take care of your needs. And it's interesting because my husband and I both come from families where we were, what's the word? Parentified. What is it called?
Parentified children. Uh-huh.
Children. We were both parentified children. And I'm just like a disturber now. I call it out as it is. I just can't keep my mouth shut. So like even in my husband's family, I'm like, oh no, are we having expectations of your son to be your husband, sweetie? Don't do that. Like, let's sit down and talk. What happened in your childhood? And they've had rough childhoods too. Our parents had rough childhoods,
Sure.
but at some point though, you have to evolve, Dr. Ann. You cannot continue that toxic behavior. You
We
just
have to
can't.
heal. Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to. Like,
Well, and when we move into that role, into that parentified child role as adults when we're married, what usually happens to our partners, they wind up either feeling incredibly neglected or jealous.
mm,
Yeah.
And so it creates now conflicts with my, or even our kids, because we're still longing for that little kid inside of us is still longing for the love that they didn't feel like they could get,
mhm,
but
mhm.
it's gone. Like you can't get that time back. So we have to be able to grieve it. And
Dr.
in
Ann, I've been able to give it to myself though. Is that crazy? I've been able to give that to myself. Like,
no,
I've been able to like mother myself. Like there are moments when if I had a functional mother that I could call that like my friends do or whatever, I actually do that for myself. And I was gonna say earlier, like trauma, I won't take my childhood was horrible, but I don't know if I'll say I'll take it back. I feel like it's made me a damn strong person today, like really
Totally
strong.
agree. Totally agree.
Like I don't want to compare myself to someone who had a really good childhood, but damn, I don't give up. Like I just don't give up, you know? And so like I look back and I'm like, okay, we want to give our kids a better life, but like we're not going to starve them. We're not going to beat them to death. We're not going to molest them. We're not going to I mean, what all the things. So how do we teach them to be resilient without traumatizing them? Big question.
I think it's
well,
leading by example, right? Like I think there's just an example
Yeah.
that you can set into place and it's the follow through. I've noticed myself with like Jace and just with my divorce, I found myself falling into this category because I would set boundaries with him and I would say things and then I would have guilt on my end from the divorce that I'm still personally working through. And then I wouldn't follow through on the boundaries that I set with him because of my own guilt. And it created a cycle for us for a while. And I really had to become aware of it and be like, there was a lot of work that went into like breaking this cycle.
mhm, mhm.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think this
And
turned into more of a therapy
It
session.
sure did.
Hopefully our listeners are getting some insight from a
Oh,
lot of this, but
I'm sure everybody that's listening at some point is going to be like, damn, I feel that. That's my situation right now. But
well, and I want to just kind of point out that one of the most powerful things that we can do for our own children, because we will hurt them, we do, because we're imperfect, and you can try your hardest, and oftentimes we do try our hardest to not do what was done to us, and we wind up doing it in little ways. But really, the goal is that if you work through some of your stuff or enough of your stuff, right? We stop walking on eggshells around the holidays. We start talking about things that don't feel good to us. We let people know when they try to manipulate us or they try to coerce us or guilt us into something that we're not okay with that. at the end of this, for those of us that are parents, what happens is that we just now modeled it for our kids. And so our kids get to actually go one step further because they saw us do it and they saw us learn how to be comfortable, right? The reason why my daughter could speak to me is because she
Mm,
seen me work on speaking to my mom, which is something that I couldn't do when I was a kid,
Yeah.
because that
Yeah.
was just back talking when I was a kid,
Yep. Yep.
right? And
Yep.
so working through that and being able to model that and being able to deliver it as an adult in a really healthy way to another adult woman who just happens to be a parent of mine, that actually helps my daughter now to be able to do it much more fluidly with me.
mm,
My daughter is 15 and she calls us out all the time in like a very respectful way. And I love it. I love it. She's got this fierce personality. She doesn't let anybody go into her boundaries. I'm just so proud of her. I'm proud of her for her. Like I just know she's gonna have a good future. She's just secure in herself, but she'll say sometimes like, well, she was folding her clothes like a month ago and she's like, I get it. Like daddy just didn't have the childhood that we have. So it's hard for him to see things this way. Or she'll say, I know, mom, you didn't have what we have growing up. So I understand, this and that situation. And I understand when you react this way or this is just because of that, like your childhood. So she's aware of that. She's aware that my husband and I are like the first generation that's like ended those, I guess, those generational curses or traumas. And it's interesting how she can see it, like she can see it for what it is.
that's powerful at such a young age.
Yeah, she's very aware, very aware. I'm like, dang, girl.
I think this has been really, obviously insightful for Bouquet and I for sure.
I know,
But
Dr.
I hope
Ann, how much do we owe you for this hour-long therapy session?
session. I feel like that's what some of these podcasts turn into, but I do definitely agree with you, Bouquet, that there's going to be a lot of listeners who are like, yep, damn, yep, 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 yep. You know what I mean? And really resonating with a lot of these things. And I guess, Anne, what would be like the key takeaway that you would give our listeners if we were just give them one piece of advice, if we're talking about how to get through the holidays, like we're saying, without the chaos and feeling like you're walking through eggshells? Like, what would be that one piece of advice for them?
I don't know if
Maybe I'm
it's
putting
just
you
gonna
on the spot.
I don't know if it's just going to be one piece of
Yeah.
advice. I'd say lean into resistance. If in your head you're thinking shut up or I don't want to do this or screw you or whatever it is in your head that doesn't sound very kind, that's something that you need to say, not that exact phrase, out loud, but a lot kinder. Um, and really be comfortable with setting boundaries and allowing people to have their own feelings. I really want to emphasize the importance of letting other people have their feelings. It doesn't mean that we get mistreated. Absolutely set boundaries around that if you have volatile family members, but they get to be sad or disappointed or not like something without it being an attack on you.
Without
Uh,
internalizing it.
Right. And you got to do that internal work of being able to identify what you feel good with and what it is that you could change. And if you walk away going, man, I really like my heart. I like the fact that I tried really hard. Great. They have feelings and those feelings aren't about you. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yep.
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 I love that. I love that. All right. Well, like I said, this has been, I think, a really like insightful episode and another
Therapy
therapy
101
session.
with Dr.
Yes.
Ann.
Maybe that's what we should title it instead of managing or the holiday
101.
chaos. Therapy 101. But yeah, thanks you guys as always for listening. Any feedback that you guys have on the podcast, liking, sharing, following, leaving a review means absolutely everything to us. But we will see you guys in the next episode.
If this is helpful, give me a like, follow me, or subscribe for more.